Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass with JB, Millie, and Smash.
So in today's episode, we are going to be taking a look and reviewing Scooby Doo Adventures, the mystery map. So for those of you who, like me and JB, hadn't seen this one or haven't seen this one for a while, this is the really kind of unique puppet style movie that was made. It centers around a pirate ship and a treasure map, and the gang want to try and find the treasure, and they have to kind of contend with a bird that perhaps wants to take the treasure map from them. It's like quite an interesting story, but it certainly is one of the kind of shorter movies, in that, like I said, there's like just kind of like the main plot of the bird takes the map, they want to get the map back, and then they want to find the treasure. That's, I want to say, a very brief summary. Anything you want to add?
I guess just some context around this. Am I right in saying that this is not Mindy Cohn as Velma, but in fact Stephanie de Abruzzo?
Yes.
Abruzzo? So that's
change up there.
Very interesting. Do we know why that change was made? Is this where Mindy Cohn kind of leaves the series, or is Mindy Cohn back in the next movie for stage fright?
No, so there's quite a bit of behind the scenes with this one. I don't know if you want to jump into that.
Yeah,
yet.
Of course. Context kind of is the most important thing before we get started on the actual movie. So take it away.
This is about to make us feel bad, JB.
So, yeah, this movie is very unique, very different, came out of nowhere. So, yeah, it's a different Velma voice. And this movie, I believe, came out once the Mystery Incorporated series had finished. So,
2013.
they were, yes. And so they were, in this, limbo period of, now we don't have a series going on. What's going to be the next one type of thing? Because Be Cool, Scooby-Doo didn't start coming out until 2 years after. So, Mindy Cohn still does Velma for a handful of movies going forward, but what this was actually a backdoor pilot for a puppet series that they wanted to do. They wanted to, have this whole Scooby-Doo series where it was puppetry, and this movie was supposed to be, act as the pilot for the series and get potential. They took this movie actually to Comic-Con, the Comic-Con that year. They had Matthew Lillard there and a bunch of the other stars and the Puppet Masters and whatever. And so they were hyping this movie up. They were trying to get attention so that they could greenlight this series. But as I'm sure we'll discuss, this movie bombed very hard, and so they basically said cancel all production for this series, act like it was never even a thing, we're not doing a series. And so that's when they were like, okay, we're doing Be Cool, Scooby-Doo. So yeah,
never guessed it from watching the movie. Oh no.
Right.
Yeah. The first comment I have about the movie is good, and then it may go down from hill rapidly.
Well, I guess question then. Did Mindy Cohn just not want to commit themselves to a puppet show, or was I from what I understand, this actor, who was it? Was it this Stephanie de Abruzzo is known for kind of their voice acting in puppetry. Was it just kind of a name that they wanted to use to bring in, I guess, puppet fans of other puppeting media?
That's kind of a hard topic to really pin down on what was going on, because the whole reason that Mindy Cohn actually stepped down from Velma, in a few years, is because she was diagnosed with cancer, and so they had to, obviously, that's priority. And then, luckily, she was able to get it taken care of, and she's, as of this moment, is alive and doing well. There's rumors that she's asked to come back as Velma, but the thing is, you have to know, like, realize that, you know, Kate Micucci is doing Velma now. Like, she's signed into contracts, you know, they can't just be like, oh, Mindy's good and well, let's just replace Kate now, you know, again and stuff, you know. It's a whole, like, legal thing. They can't just swap out here and there. So, my kind of guess, I mean, yeah, maybe they wanted someone, you know, who did puppet voices to come, you know, get into this, but I'm also wondering if this was at the point where her cancer scare started, and so she wanted to step away from series, but was like, I'll come in, you know, occasionally for these movies, because, you know, to do a movie rather than a series, you know, a movie I would guess is maybe at max like a month's worth of sitting in the booth, if that, really. Whereas, you know, a series, that's going to be a weekly thing that she has to sit and go do and stuff. So I'm wondering if at this point she was ready to step down from doing Velma, but was still willing to do some of the movies. And so, you know, when they thought that this was going to be a series, they were like, okay, well, let's have the new Velma, you know, be Velma in this show, this movie. But then obviously it didn't take off.
Yeah, I mean, that topic in itself, in terms of the like voice of Velma's, an entire like conversation to be had. Like, I remember reacting to Sword and the Scoob on your channel, and Velma's voice just, it took me a minute.
Yes,
that's all I kind of have to say. So if Mindy wants to return, then, you know, it'd be great to see a familiar face come back to the voice, like behind the voice and stuff.
Although I guess in fairness to us at that point, our primary source of Scooby media was either Linda Cardellini or I want to say even BJ Ward, and I think BJ Ward played it with a very almost deep voice. Like, they kind of came at it with the kind of the point of view of like a wise librarian, I want to say, whereas Micucci was good. She's definitely grown on me. Came at it with that very squeaky approach. It was like going from one end of the spectrum to the other one, so I guess it was quite jarring. And
I certainly think Velma's voice has had the most variety throughout. Like, obviously Frank Welker's just been such a consistent, you know, backing for Fred. I think that even when there's been exchanges for the Shaggy voice, it's been done like really, I want to say respectful. Like, I feel like every actor behind it has had some level of respect for the previous one. They've wanted to kind of take it, maybe make it their own slightly, but I think there's been a lot of consistency.
Yeah, loads.
Whereas I think with Velma and Daphne, there's been a few changes. And I just think the Velma one certainly had the most range.
Yeah. Yes, Velma.
That's fair.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, after you, sir.
Oh no, I was just gonna say that Velma is the one out of the core 5 that's had the most voice actresses, you know, portray her. And you know, unfortunately, she's also been the one that's had the most like harder voices for people to get used to. One that like everybody can say they, you know, it's one of those, we do not speak of her as Marla Frumpkin. If you know who she is and when she played Velma, ooh, you know her voice very well. And you know, if you ever like watch that time period where she's portraying Velma, you try to rush those episodes as fast as you can.
I can't say I'm familiar with them, to be honest.
Here, I'll send you a compilation of Marla Pumpkin as Velma. You will just love it.
Oh, wait till we're reacting to series, JB.
Oh.
But I feel like some of what Smash was saying earlier makes sense. Like, this movie we found was really difficult to find. It's clear they don't make more copies of this now. It was certainly like 3 or 4 times the price of the other movies that we've been picking up to react to. It's very clear that this one's kind of been swept under the carpet and hidden away.
Yeah.
Yes.
So weird. Like, we ordered, say, you can order a DVD from W.H. Smith's, be it Zombie Island, Cyber Chase, even some of the newer ones like Abracadabra, Happy Halloween, for
Literally
like
£3.
£3, if that. Whereas this one we had to get it from Kex, which is like a second-hand like shop here, and I think it was about either £8 or £12. It was wild in comparison to to the older ones of their time period. Obviously, you know, Sword and the Scoob, and obviously Courage now is still about £12, but it was just so crazy because I'd have thought that even if it was received badly, they would have made a similar amount of DVDs, although I guess it's like a print run for a book, right? If they sell out the first wave, they then
Print more.
you know, issue another wave, and if they just don't sell that first one, then there's no need to produce more. But
Or if they don't want it to be seen publicly and ridiculed, then they may just not make enough of it.
maybe not, but it's the question, like, did they genuinely believe that they were producing something that would be received well? Like, because I don't think they've made it with bad intention, and I think that's something that I'll go on to summarize later on, but it's like, a part of me feels that they didn't just go in, like, if they didn't make an animated movie just as puppets, they made a full-on puppet film with puppet tropes and kind of puppet set pieces. They were fully all on board with this, and a part of me kind of thinks, well, what gave them the confidence that it would take off? Like, they didn't have a particularly, you know, big new name to shout it out as a USP to people. There wasn't evidence in the past that puppets would really take off. It was just kind of weird, you know.
And one of my questions is, if they were planning making this a series, did they invest a lot more money in the puppets and stuff than they would have done if it was just for a movie, just to then have that kind of fall through?
Yeah, I mean, it must have cost a bit. It's weird, but I guess we'll probably get on to the first scene.
Make a little start on the movie. So I like the pirate ship at the start. I always like water and boats, and I was a bit like, oh yay,
Yeah.
I'm happy.
It was actually really nice. I don't know how they did it, but instantly I'm thinking that it's one of the most cinematically pleasing ones, because you've kind of got the nice flowing water, the visual of that boat in itself, and it actually seems really good. It almost seemed almost like a level up of animation. So obviously it wasn't animation, but it reminded me of like the start of like a How to Train Your Dragon movie with that kind of scope of things, and so it was kind of good impressions throughout, even down to the title sequence. But I suppose, Smash, what was your initial interpretation of the first few seconds? Like,
literally just the pirate ship moving across.
Okay, so I have to say, when this one came out, I was just like, nope, like, not dealing with that one. It doesn't exist, you know, like, moving on. And so I didn't watch it for at least a few years afterwards, because it came out in 2013, and so I was like just getting into high school around that time. And then I didn't watch it until after I graduated high school, actually. And I didn't get the DVD at first. I watched it here in America. We have a Boomerang streaming service, because, you know, there's the Boomerang channel, but we have a streaming service dedicated to Boomerang, and they added it there. And I was like, oh, well, I'll watch it since I don't have to, you know, technically pay for it. Yeah. And so one day I was just like, okay, we're going to turn this on. I'm going to watch it, just like see what this even was. At this point, it was probably a good like 4 years old or something. And so, you know, I watched it then. I do own it now, just because, you know, I'm a Scooby-Doo freak and need to have the complete collection for me to feel satisfied. But yeah, when I originally started watching this, I really didn't know what to expect. I mean, I had seen the trailer and stuff, but and so I did get the vibe, because they really went more a pup named Scooby-Doo with this show. They, you know, they made the characters younger, and they look like their pup named Scooby-Doo designs and stuff. But just seeing this, I was like, oh, okay, so like we're really going into this pirate aspect of it. You know, we hadn't seen really a pirate movie since Pirates Ahoy, which was at this point, you know, years ago. And so it got me a little excited just seeing it, because to be honest, I kind of thought like a lot of the movie, I mean, yes, the whole movie is fake, but like even just like that water scene, you know, I thought it would have been some sort of like paper waves or something, you know, and I was like, oh, this is kind of cool, you know, the scenery looks interesting at least. So that was kind of my initial like. I was a little impressed with the scenery at the very least.
Yeah, I would agree. And then also, it then like pans over to a tree house, and I was still there with it. I was like, oh well, if we're doing the younger thing, they're not the teenagers they are normally. It's quite a cute concept to have a tree house painted like the Mystery Machine. I kind of like that as well.
Yeah, and I really liked, because I tend to pick up on music as well, and I like heard an instrumental of the Summertime song from Camp Scare, and I'm like, oh, okay, so this is getting me into the kind of holiday vibe. Obviously, they've shown water, so I'm expecting something almost tropical. And still, even when we initially see the puppets, I'm not annoyed, I'm not like hacked off, because I think it starts with Fred doing like weights in a mirror. And I guess this is something that I want to make absolutely clear. I, hand on heart, believe that the puppeteers and the kind of set design behind this movie should be praised, because the amount of skill that it must take to make it all move and to make it all flow is something that I really wish I could do, and it is definitely something that is really talented. Now, whether that's applied in terms of writing is a different story, but initially I'm just kind of freaking out going, oh my gosh, I wish that I was on this set. I wish I could explore the set pieces and see the puppets. So from that aspect, I'm happy.
JB and I are about to have a game of good cop, bad cop, because he can balance it out so that we can hopefully get people to interview on the channel again. And I'm going to be like relatively blunt. From the second the puppets were introduced, I hated it. Like, I didn't like the weightlifting thing. Why have they aged him down on his weightlifting? Then Daphne does this really weird thing where she's keeping all her shoes in a communal tree house. They're magically moving on their own.
Oh no, come on, that was good, because
like,
that's so Daphne.
Oh gosh, why? And then they start talking. And I think it's because I've not seen a pup named Scooby Doo. I've only really watched like the things where they are teenagers and stuff. But even the voices, I was just like, oh okay. Got some adjusting to do here. It's not just the visual. There's noises. It's very, very different. This is a lot to deal with. Then Matthew Lillard is Matthew Lillard as Shaggy in this one. Yeah,
the only difference
he
is
started speaking,
Velma.
and the second he started speaking, I was so relaxed again, because for me they didn't change their voice in this. Everyone else tried to age down, and they still sounded like Shaggy. Scooby still sounded like Scooby. And then I was a bit like, if I close my eyes, I can manage this movie. Just from Matthew Lillard's voice, for me, he was like this grounding that was like, okay, this is still Scooby-Doo. This is Shaggy. This sounds like Shaggy. I understand. Because for me, like, to see the different art style, to hear the different voices, it was, and like I said, this weird little thing where Daphne's shoes were moving and Fred was weightlifting, and I was just like, oh, wow. This is a lot. I'm not seeing anything that's very similar to where we left it with the last movie. So it literally just took Matthew Lillard's voice to be like, okay, I found something I recognise.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I guess it is a bit like a pup named Scooby-Doo in that sense, because from what I can remember, I think every single one of that kind of voice cast was different, except for Shaggy and Scooby again. I think they were still Casey Kasem, so it makes complete sense that you would have the familiar Shaggy. So in a way, they've done an excellent job replicating a pup named Scooby-Doo. But once again, I'm kind of going back to the initial question of, if a pup named Scooby-Doo was nostalgic and beloved, why not just make a series that's a sequel to that, instead of taking such a risk? Because here's something that I think the movie can be commended on as well, and this isn't, and obviously I'm trying to come up with the most positive things that I can say, because again, one thing that I appreciate is they definitely weren't lazy with the concept. Like, they were doing fine, I guess. They're still doing fine, making two movies, animated movies a year, alongside a TV show occasionally. Like, there was no reason for them to invest in puppets and to even try something different. And so the fact that they have is is amazing, and I do appreciate that. So it definitely wasn't a lazy choice, but this was the first DVD that we picked up, and I was actively irritated at you know, how lazy the production outside of the movie was, in that obviously, you know, the last couple of movies you've had some bonus episodes of the TV show, and they had that here as well. But it's like, because they did something so different this time, there's puppets, they've built big set pieces, they've built individual characters, and there's no behind the scenes look at how they did it, and I was just like, well, that
You've
annoyed
literally
me.
just wasted it. Like, come on, if you're not getting the series out from it, at least get us a good bonus feature. Like, this is the puppet.
Like, they could have had a bonus feature that I would have rewatched, or I would have put this disc back in for, just for the bonus features, and they just didn't do it, and it's just annoying. It really does annoy me that they didn't do that. So it's the first DVD that I picked up, and I thought, okay, they've just stopped putting any effort into the bonus features, but...
Yeah, because these have games and everything, didn't they?
Yeah, and I guess with the others, they had no reason to really do bonus features apart from maybe a couple of interviews. But this was the one film that they really could have done something special with, and they just didn't. So
Yeah.
that's just a massive shame. Or even just the kind of silly things that they used to do with the, like, Goblin King had like a little magician scene. Samurai Sword had ninjutsu. This could have at least have had how to make your own puppet, or how to control a mannequin, or how to do ventriloquism. It could have had some kind of out there guest star doing that, and it would have been at least a bit of personality to it. But as it is, just absolutely lazy. So with that, I think that's probably all the real praise that I've got left for this movie. But maybe my notes will reflect differently.
I guess where we're up to is they find the treasure map. And also, I guess I wanted to talk about the outfits. Like you said, they're very like a pup named Scooby-Doo. Kind of not a fan of Velma's, just because like it changes to like white and yellow. It's a bit of a step away. Did you notice anything about the outfits, JB, or was it just all like, yeah?
I mean, I like
It's what it is.
Velma's glasses. I kind of
Yeah.
feel like that added in a bit of like quirkiness to them. And all of the others, I think they were just very accurate to a pup named Scooby-Doo, which I was not too familiar with, but I didn't have any real issue with it, apart from just, I guess, yeah, you're right, Velma's outfit. But the glasses I liked. I think it added a bit more zaniness to them that I liked.
Now, I'm going to say that the movie takes a very, I want to say, goofy turn the second they leave the treehouse. You know how SMASH was like, oh, I was expecting like paper waves and stuff? To me, that's what happens when it's like this person pops up from nowhere and Velma's just like, take this to the lab. And then there's all these yellow stars flashing around because somebody's bumped their head. It's like, oh, I hate this style. Oh, gosh. Like, no. I just wasn't, like, I wasn't engaging with it at all at that point.
No, well, okay, I guess in context, we both grew up on very different shows. I am almost nostalgic watching this to an extent, a limited extent, because I did used to watch shows like this when I was maybe 5, 6, 7 years old.
I mean, to put it in context, I've never seen an episode of The Muppets. I've never seen, until I met JB, did you say Coraline's Puppetry?
It's a bit like it's a bit like Puppetry. It's Puppetry style, which I do
I've
like.
never seen that before. What's the other one that you like?
Like Nightmare Before Christmas is a bit
never
like
seen
that.
that before. My parents didn't like animated stuff, so Puppetry would have just driven them insane. So I'd never seen anything like this. And maybe that's why I was like just struggling with it, but I didn't like it.
I mean, SMASH, what's your experience of watching Puppetry? Or
And what did you think when you saw the yellow like flashy stars and stuff?
So I think, okay, so first off, on the puppet side of things, I really don't watch a whole lot of puppet stuff. I mean, sure, you know, I saw a little bit of like the Muppets growing up, and then obviously there's a show, the Sesame Street, that I, you know, had watched growing up a lot, and then here in America there was a show, and maybe it was over there, and maybe they brought it over here. I don't know. Anyway, there was a show that we'd always watch in school too, called Between the Lions. That was Puppetry, And so I was used to it, but I never was like in love with it. It was just like one of those, oh, it's a style of show, But oftentimes I feel like they use puppetry for kids shows. But then, on the side of just Scooby Doo, I think for me personally, I went into this with more the eyes of a pup named Scooby Doo. And so, while it does seem odd, that like the random guy or like running into the screen to take Velma's swab or whatever and then running away, that happened a ton in a pup named Scooby Doo. Daphne had a butler called Jenkins, and she'd like step in some mud or something and then scream and call out for Jenkins, and he'd just appear out of nowhere and bring her new shoes or her whole wardrobe. Or like there was a episode where Scooby ran to Daphne's house and then came back with her whole closet and whatever, so that show in itself was just very out there and cartoony and very exaggerated animation too. And so going into this movie, I expected a lot of that and kind of their personalities too, because like you were saying, when they were in the treehouse and Daphne was like, line up for inspection or whatever, I was like, yeah, that's Daphne as a kid. She was so like girly, can't get dirty. If anything happens to my wardrobe, then we can't solve a mystery, and very sassy and stuff. And so for me personally, I just went into this movie expecting a long pup named Scooby-Doo episode, and I think it worked a little bit better for me. Obviously, it's still not one I'm gonna go back to a lot, because I don't even love a pup named Scooby-Doo. I know a lot of people are very nostalgic for that series, and that series I watched almost every day growing up right before school. I'd watch it as I'm waiting for the bus to come pick me up or whatever. But going back to it as an adult, I know Scooby-Doo is repetitive in itself, but a pup named Scooby-Doo, for me particularly, is a very repetitive series. Like, they have to do every same joke in every episode, whereas I feel like, in other Scooby series, there's these handful of jokes or gags that they'll do, within the series, but they sit and mix them up throughout the episode, so they're not doing the same ones every episode. And A Pup Named Scooby-Doo is just one I cannot consistently rewatch all the time, because I'm like, to me, it's the same thing over and over, which is really saying something for Scooby-Doo. But there's kind of my 2 cents on your question.
Yeah, that's interesting as well. And like what you said with Daphne screaming line up for inspection, I did like how Gray managed to switch up their voice acting in this, because it seems like they're very much channeling another one of their characters, which I think is Vicky from Fairly Odd Parents. I don't know if you've seen that, but it's very, very reminiscent of that. And for all it's almost, it took me out at first, because that screaming of line up for inspection instantly took me back to that show. It very much showed that she could still adapt that version of Daphne, but into her own kind of area of comfort as well, which I did like. It wasn't, I didn't instantly hear that, and again, like, it distinctly wasn't Daphne's voice, but I do like that kind of different take on her.
Yeah, I mean, I put in my notes that by the cave scene, Daphne's voice, I'd started to like it again. To me, it was starting to resemble what I associate with Daphne's voice a little bit more. I think maybe it created an impact at the start and then relaxes a little bit.
Yeah, it definitely starts off very, very strong, almost like it was just recorded in chronological order, and they were just like, right, I need to channel this, I need to channel that, and then it kind of blended and found a nice balance between the two, which I think is impressive within and of itself, because I think a lot of like voices take even series to get to that stage of comfort. But I think Gray managed to do it quite quickly. Again, I don't know how long they were filming the voices here. It may have been, a month, it may have been more, but it's impressive nonetheless. I don't know though. I kind of don't want to upset anyone, but I think I've put this in my notes. I did feel that there was just something off with how Frank was doing a younger Fred, and I just don't know how to describe it. It just seemed like it almost like you know when you kind of try and find clips on YouTube from a movie and they're trying to avoid copyright, so they slow it down loads or rate, make it more high pitch. It was just something like that where it kind of unsettled me a bit, to the point where I didn't dislike it or hate it, but it was very jarring. Almost like the first time I heard Kate McCucci as Velma in Sword and the Scoob, it just took me out, and it
was like, I need some time here. This is the process I need to adjust to. Like I said, that's why I think when I heard Matthew Lillard's voice, I was just like, okay, good. There's one I recognise. Like, because to me, it wasn't Frank Welker as Fresh. It didn't sound anything like them. Like you said, it sounded like some strange, almost distorted version. The same, well, Velma's voice was replaced completely. Obviously, Gray was trying to change Daphne slightly to make that younger, like, pup named Scooby Doo one. And I was like, okay. This needs time. But then we move on. We meet Dr. Escobar and Shirley, and Fred, sticking to standard formulas like, oh, yay, Shirley, woo! Oh, she smells nice, yay! It's like, okay, I thought we'd made you younger now, but still.
No, I kind of did start to like that though, because for all I wasn't the type of audience or the type of person to appreciate Frank's performance fully in this. I could almost tell that he was having a blast recording these lines. Like, I think he definitely had fun with it, and that's very important, because if he sounded different and bored or embarrassed to be there, I think it would have made this movie cringy to the point of, like, I couldn't even watch it even for the podcast. But I think because he genuinely sounded like he was having a good time with it, and they were very much fitting into formulas and tropes that I was familiar with. Again, like, for all I don't like it, it was introducing a kind of female character into the show, so Fred could go, oh my gosh, look at her, and Daphne could go, oh, wow, why are you being such a typical guy? So it's not my favourite trope, but it's something similar that I can kind of connect, like, oh, okay, so this is the start of that, I guess, then chronologically, which was fun to see.
And then here's where they incorporate the lyrics into Here Comes Somewhere. You were like, yes, I knew I got the instrumental right, woo! And you kind of had your happy moment. And then they go into that chase scene, like, that song's what they use for the chase. They try and recreate that standard hallway sequence that's quite iconic to Scooby-Doo. And I'll admit, they did well with that. That scene was good. The only part I didn't like is when they were speaking.
No, like, this, you're right, the chase scene is done fantastically, and I do just wish there was a bonus feature behind the scenes, or even just a few stills of just taking a few steps back from the camera and seeing how all the puppets moved and how they got them to replicate certain scenes, where they needed to edit things out. That would have been absolutely fascinating, even as its own little mini documentary. An issue is that I feel like they've been very, very brave with their choice of songs, because my happiest moment was literally just dancing to the Here Comes Summer song. And so for all they've kind of done the job at first, they've kind of got me excited. Ultimately, it's just serving to remind me of a film that I'd rather be watching instead of this one.
Yeah, because they reuse a lot of songs in this, don't they? And each time you're a bit like, oh, could be watching that movie and enjoy this song. Could be watching that movie to enjoy this song. Yeah, I agree with you on that. And then they, like, start to escape the cave, which is when I feel like they almost do that Courage the Cowardly Dog thing, as we see in Straight Out of Nowhere, where it's kind of like they have a Scooby snack and then they change form completely into a different shape. They become a bowling ball. They do it later on where you can have a snack and they become a rocket, and to me that's just exactly what they're doing Straight Out of Nowhere with Courage, isn't it?
It reminded me a little bit too much of Shaggy and Scooby Get a Clue, and that was the series that assassinated my passion for Scooby-Doo for 8 or so years. So it was kind of unsettling to see the, like, Scooby all of a sudden get these worldly powers, but I think the way they do it, I think it worked, to be honest. Like, the fact that they could get a bowling ball variant almost and just change up the dynamic, because there has to be a way to break down these barriers and it doesn't just look silly, like Puppet is just bashing into foam and breaking through it. Like, it's a creative way to make them remove an obstacle. But again, a theme that I think I'm going to have consistently throughout this movie is that they do just seem to be putting in obstacles out of nowhere, because without them the movie would be about 10 minutes long.
See, I'm thinking at this point, could they have made this movie as a standard animation? And
No.
I think they could have.
I think they... Well, again though, it would have been 10 minutes long.
Okay, they could have made an episode, but
Yeah.
it didn't need to be puppetry, is what I'm kind of getting at this point. They do like a little scene next where they're inside the lighthouse and they look up and there's that spiralization thing, and that's kind of a nice graphic, but again, it's kind of moving away from the puppeteering bit. And then Shaggy goes up as a cracker that's like magically materialized from somewhere to unmask that it's Stu, the pizza delivery person.
Oh god, you're going way too quickly for me.
Am I?
I'm lost. I'm lost.
I think it's because I literally just like summarized the plot as quickly as I could. Like, not following.
I mean, that's it really though. Just summarizing. Well, not summarizing, but it's almost like a play-by-play. And
I guess meet the creepy lighthouse keeper that I kind of didn't mention.
but again,
But
initial
again, they
with
don't
them,
do anything. They
They're
just
just-
stand there.
they're almost classic puppetry, and the gang's like a reimagined version of the gang, and it's almost like they've just reused old Sesame Street
Yeah.
set pieces and put these people in it. But
And then the title, but like it just rolls to these weird titles. As soon as it's been unmasked, it replays the initial titles, and we were there like, okay, is that it? Is it done? Like I wrote capitalized pass in my book, like, okay, that's it, it's done. Passing this one, it's absolutely awful. I'm never watching it again. It's done, like hallelujah. And then it goes into something else, and it's like, okay, is this just like replaying now it's finished? Has it just rolled over? Is this episode 2? Is it episodes?
yeah,
'Cause
that's
this
what
is
I
just
thought
weird.
at first. Like they did, because it was. I think I was aware that it was meant to be a TV show. I kind of figured that maybe like they sometimes do with cancelled things. Like I think for the second or third Cruel Intentions movie, they just got like 3 episodes of a scrapped like series together and made it like a sequel film. And I kind of thought that that's what they'd done here. They'd like got 3, of the scrapped puppet episodes and combined it into one story. But no.
My notes here say episode 2 with a question mark. Please don't continue.
Although I do want to say that the kind of interlude seemed very reminiscent of a pup named Scooby Doo. As I think there was this one that I was watching, very funny, like very fun sequence, but it's the Iceman, and in between the chases, they do have these little dance scenes. So that was kind of fun, and it wasn't sad though, but it was very much raising me up. Like, oh my gosh, is that it already? Wow, that's crazy.
Okay, we survived. But then, like we say, it kind of goes into this weird little part 2.
But Smash, what are you thinking so far, say, from Scooby's transformation and obviously this kind of dance sequence?
So the transformations again comes from a pup named Scooby Doo, because they would, in that series, they give him a Scooby snack, and then he could transform. And there was like this. Sometimes they'd sit and use it almost in every episode. They give him a Scooby snack, and he'd like just fall in love or something, and like turn into a rocket and explode in the sky. And then he'd come floating down, and someone would catch him, and he'd be like, "Okay, I'm ready," and stuff. So again, that stems from a pup named Scooby Doo. I really don't know why they didn't just like make this a pup named Scooby Doo movie or something. But anyway, then with the random dance sequence, I too thought it's like, oh, yay, it's over. Now we're just having a dance party, and then the credits will roll. And then it was like started going, forward into this next story, and yet the thing is, though, it's the same night. It still connects to the previous story, but why was there a random dance sequence in between? I was like, again, this was like 2 episodes split, and they were just like trying to make it into a movie to sell it, you know? Like, it didn't make sense to me. It was kind of annoying. I was like, just take out the dance sequence and just fade out into black and then come back or something.
Yeah, I mean, I was like, when the dance scene started and I thought it was finished, I was like, we didn't find out where the treasure was. What was the treasure? Wait a minute, I don't care. If I don't need to continue watching it, if we're leaving it there, I'm not going to complain. Yeah. It's fine. It's done.
I almost felt like Rickrolled.
I'd rather not know. I'd rather never know what the treasure was or where it was, and let this just be done.
It was just a troll. Like it's like the movie knew that we were waiting for it to end, and then it was like, yay! Like we're kind of doing a false end. Like they do like the kind of Scooby-Doo thing. Then they kind of have the sequence play there, like the kind of dance, and it is all just a bit odd. Like I don't quite know how to describe it. It seemed very unself-aware, like that we were kind of just going to be watching along and having the time of our lives. But when they kind of had that false ending, the movie was so unself-aware that it didn't predict that people were actually going to be relieved when like they ended it early.
Yeah.
It's I don't know.
Yeah, like JB was just saying that, like it almost rubs it in your face, like you're wanting this movie to be over so badly. They then you think it's finished, just to then be like, ha, no, that's just the halfway mark. We're doing this all over again, yay!
Like I don't know if it's
pretty
like
much
a harsh prank to the parents that like have to watch this with their kids, but
yeah, JB said to me at the end of this, like when we have children, if they like when we introduce them to Scooby-Doo, they come across this and they like it, will you sit and watch it with them? I was like, look, I'd do anything for my children. I'll put it on the TV for them and I'll sit and read a book, but I am under no circumstances watching this. No way. Like,
just put it up high in a cupboard where they'll never find it and act like it doesn't exist.
Yeah, like, you know, the company's tried to do a good enough job of acting like it never happened. I feel like I need to do the same.
Like, hide it like Jumanji or something. Just
yeah, like this was the year that Scooby-Doo missed. There wasn't a movie at this one. This was just forgotten.
I mean, that's a good question. Did this take the place of one of the annual films?
I believe it technically did. I mean, what was the last movie we did?
Oh Lord, it was
Mask of the Blue Falcon. That one came out the same year, but it came out earlier in the year.
Yeah, so we're at like 2 movies a year at this point.
Yeah, we are. Oh no, just kidding. I'm looking back at it. So actually, no. So they did Mask of the Blue Falcon in February. This one came out in July. Then actually the following month, Stage Fright came out.
Okay. So at least we weren't like deprived.
Yeah.
I mean, that's fair enough, I guess. In a way, like they've not used a slot, like they kind of experimented differently, but they did it in their own time. I suppose that makes me feel a bit better about it, to be honest. But we'll see. We'll see. So
I wonder if the reason they put the music in between was to make it feel more like episodes. Like I said in my notes, I put it as episode 2, almost to introduce the concept of it being a series.
That's what I'm thinking, honestly.
Or even just.
But still, like JP said, it's like they didn't realise we were dying for this movie to be done.
Like, I didn't know what to expect. Like they start it up again with Stu the Pizza Man on TV, and I'm thinking. Even like I even got to the point where I was thinking, okay, maybe this is just a quirky post-credit scene where like Stu's just gonna appear on TV, make a joke, and then that's gonna be it. Like,
yeah,
honestly.
But no, they see Shirley and her mum out looking for clues and stuff. There's a hot dog stand in the middle of nowhere, just in some random forest. Okay.
Although I think I called this relatively early because the kind of main villain of this, apart from the pirate parrot, was Captain Gnarly Beard, and their kind of unique trait is that their beard just stinks of absolute garbage. And when Fred is going on about, oh, Shirley smells nice, Shirley smells like this, for all it's contrasting, like he's not like, oh, that Shirley just stinks of rubbish. It's it's always that tie-in. There's like a strong scent on this person, and obviously the villain is notorious for having a strong scent, you know, even if it's positive and negative. So I think we set it up fine. Like, did you guess, Millie, or were you just not switched on at this point?
I was crying. I just had got my hopes up that it was done. Like, I just was so uninvested. It was unbelievable. And so then they just go up to the lighthouse, they count a few steps, X marks the spot. Shaggy and Scooby fly off onto a boat where they're working for Captain Smellybeard, and yeah, that's how it's progressing.
Well, I just think a lot of it is just to waste time. Like, I think the musical sequence was nothing more than just to like add in some watch hours.
Yeah, just like, oh, we're classifying this as a movie. Let's see if we can at least meet the 60-minute mark.
I think that's all it is. I think that's what the majority of the movie is. It's just wasting time, and it's a shame because I do feel like if they just released a mini series of maybe 5 or so episodes, and they were maybe 12 minutes long each, I think they could have had a very bizarre but overall nice little mini series for kind of younger audiences, for people just interested in puppets and sets in general. And instead it's just they've tried to overinflate it to something it isn't, and I almost do feel bad for them because they really did try and market it, it seems. They definitely weren't lazy with the set design. I think they just went about it in the completely wrong way.
Well, Smash said earlier, Scooby-Doo can be repetitive. Like, when, you know that TV show that you introduced me to, Ghost Whisperer?
Yeah.
You literally said that formula is Freak of the Week. Every week there's a new ghost, she helps them cross over. Scooby-Doo, very similar. Every week it's a new Freak of the Week. It's who are they going to unmask this time? And that's it. That's the formula. But it's worked. It had worked for over, like, what, at that point, like 50 years. Like, you don't need to try and do something different. Why are you trying to do something so drastically different if you know it's working this well? Like, when the views were like dropping and Zombie Island was some radical introduction, it's like they didn't try and completely change it then, so why did they need to completely change it now? Like, yeah.
I mean, I kind of disagree. I just wish that their change in direction was different, something that made sense. Like, I wasn't, like, from what I'm aware, in 2013 puppets weren't this new trend. Like, I'd have even forgiven them if, say, and obviously this wasn't in 2013,
Like the Muppets
maybe
had just
it was,
come out.
but like you know, Scooby-Doo meets the guy from Gangnam Style or something, like hopping on a trending topic would have made sense to like revitalize something or try something new, and it's creative. But again, I just don't feel that they had any reason to believe that it would work. Whereas if they put the same marketing into the Lego movies that we're going to get onto, I'd understand it. You know, Lego's really popular, and obviously the Lego movie did really well. There's reason to believe that that movie would be a success, and if they wanted to use the Lego movie of Scooby to try and convince Lego to team up with them to make a Lego series of Scooby-Doo, again, that'd be fine, and it would also sell some sets, some toys, you know, joy all around. But I don't know who they thought that they were appealing to with the puppets, apart from the little kids, which at the end of the day, that's the kind of audience that they would ideally go for. But they do say, you know, you can't be mad because you used to like something as a kid and it's not aged with you. I almost feel like this aged down. Like, I used to be scared of the Scooby-Doo Where Are You series when I was growing up, when I was about 5 or 6. Like, there was only a few episodes I'd watch, you know. I'd pretty much, and you know me, I used to watch all the scenes of Daphne and then close my little eyes when, like, the phantom virus or whatever used to come on. I was a very simple boy, but that was me. I was scared for the most part. I think if I was that age and I even saw this then, I would have gone, right, this is a bit too silly.
This is ridiculous. And then they do the little Dig It song, which again is just reuse, repeat.
The gang's all here. Da, da, da.
What's this? Scooby snack turns Scooby into a
A
rocket.
rocket, yeah, to escape from gnarly beard.
Yeah, I've already said I don't like it. They unmask Shirley, like big shock.
Yeah, big surprise.
JB didn't call that 10 minutes ago. And then
Whoa.
it turns out that the treasure that we've just sat and been tortured for an hour for is beard products.
To be fair though, Dr. Escobar finds a teddy bear. Yeah?
Yeah. Admittedly, I wasn't expecting that Dr. Escobar lighthouse keeper little...
I like that though, to be honest.
That was honestly my favourite part.
Like, Dr. Escobar is actually quite an interesting character in that they were so obviously a shady character in the whole film, but then they kind of weren't. They kind of just had their own separate agenda.
So is it just that them to have two messed up children, like, that are just
Jesus.
looking at, like,
Two messed up children.
pretending to be, like, pirates and parrots?
Yeah, that's true, because they're siblings, aren't they?
Yeah. So is it just that they were, like, so in love that they just left the kids to impersonate, like, Polly the parrot and Pirate Pete and stuff?
I guess they're just dysfunctional. I don't know what's wrong with them.
Because they must be their parents, right? Because Shirley's not just going to be walking around with some random woman.
Yeah,
You'd
well,
like to think.
I thought initially that almost Shirley was a protege or like a student. I don't know how to describe it. You know, like in Phantosaur, like how Windsor was to the main archaeologist in that movie. But then by the way that she scolds them, it very much seems like a mother and daughter.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you've been a very silly girl, and or you know, or like words along those lines.
So basically, they've just got two terribly rebellious children. And then we just see Scooby and Shaggy in the bath together, just like, okay, please tell me it is done this time. Let's not run that little dance sequence again and move on to episode 3.
I mean, the Abracadabra-Doo song plays again during the credits, but again, it just reminds me of a movie that I wish that I was watching more.
Yes, I completely agree.
I'm
good with that.
What do you feel? What do you think about the whole Shirley reveal and Dr. Escobar's romantic
Wonderful
endeavors?
parenting skills. 2 children.
You know, this whole like movie, I feel like there really was not a mystery. It was just like there's just these random characters that pop up and you maybe see each of them once or twice, and then you get to the end and it's like, oh yeah, remember those characters you saw like 20 minutes ago? It's them. And so them in particular, I don't know, it was just, to me it was easy and they were just weird and I really didn't like any of the side characters.
Yeah,
I mean, I feel like that summarizes it. We can go just to the smash or pass like section here.
I got to a stage and I was like, what the heck have we just seen? Like, how in the same series have we gone from reviewing something like Zombie Island to this? And I was like, Jesus. You just get sick of it, don't you?
Well, just in case anybody watching this hasn't guessed the reviews already, JB, mystery map, smash or pass?
Well, look, to be honest, and I'm going to be serious with this.
This is the real mystery here.
No, come on, I'm going to be serious with this. I genuinely can tell everyone listening to this that I have actually no pleasure in saying this. I really wanted to be the person that would come onto this podcast and say, look, you know, I get annoyed when people don't like it, like it's, you know, something just because it's in a different medium. Like, I've been the biggest defender or something that we've got going on now. Like, what if the first animated Marvel show and people just switch off from something like that because it's animated and obviously the rest of the Marvel universe isn't? And so I thought that that's what I was going to do here as well. I was going to say, look, just imagine it's animated and you'll be fine. But I just can't. I thought that this is the worst movie we've reviewed in this series, and I can confidently say that. This movie reminded me of being in a toy shop with absolutely no money. Okay, initially there's a lot that I can look around and appreciate. I can say, oh my gosh, that's cool. I didn't know they could do that. Oh wow, well, you know, I didn't hear about that before. But ultimately, I'm just walking around the place sulking because there's so much more fun that I could be having if I could actually take something away from it. And ultimately, there was a lot of visuals and unfortunately just no substance to it. So and I am sorry, because I really did think that I was gonna come into this movie being the one person that would like it, but unfortunately I'm gonna have to pass on Scooby-Doo Adventures Mystery Map. What about you, Millie?
Okay, well, I can honestly say I agree with pretty much everything you've just said. This is the worst Scooby-Doo thing I've seen in my entire life. I started watching Scooby-Doo when I was about 4. And I can honestly say this is the worst Scooby thing I've ever seen. I feel confident it's the worst thing out there, so I know it's only just going to get better with the other movies we're about to review. The puppet style, I hated it. I felt really awkward when they were talking because their mouths didn't really move, and or at least they didn't move right, and it was so awkward. It was so painful. There was that thing where they literally like played with you in the middle and was like, oh, I know, well, let's make them think it's finished. And I was like so happy. It's like, oh no, we're just continuing on. No, it's horrendous. It was awful. I can like put like literally I'm saying this like on the channel, like I bet the channel that I will never ever watch this again. I'll never want to watch this again. I'd happily, like Smash said, like not adding it to his collection for so long, I'd happily remove it for our collection if it wasn't for the sake of like if it was that we just downloaded the movies, it'd be deleted, it'd be gone, it's done. It's literally just so we're like, oh yeah, we've got the complete collection, woo, great. That is literally the only reason that I'm like, oh yeah, we'll be keeping the DVD just for the sake of like part of the collection. It was awful, and if they did make that series, then this Smash or Pass series would definitely be finishing with the movies, because I wouldn't be like, okay, I want to continue. Like, it's literally put me off the idea of watching a pup named Scooby-Doo. I've not seen any of that series really, and after watching this and hearing some of the stuff that's said, I genuinely just don't want to. This is, for me, the biggest mistake that was ever made with Scooby-Doo, and I think it was awful. That's a complete pass. Okay, Smash, on that happy note, I guess I haven't asked you, how many times have you watched this, and is it a smash or a pass?
I think in total... Okay, actually, to be fair, I've probably seen this a good, 10 times, but that's because one of my nephews loves this one.
Ah.
And so, it's whenever he's, with me at my house or whatever, he, wants to watch that one and whatever, and so that's the only reason I watched it really more than maybe anyone should.
The music's available on the other movies, watch them instead.
Right? Dude, you can jam away on a better movie, but with how long it took me to even get this one, I will say though, I'm able to watch this one and it's okay, I can get through it. There's a series called Shaggy and Scooby Doo Get a Clue that I admittedly still cannot get past the first 3 episodes. And so I'm in a way, I guess this is better than that.
Yeah,
at least, just from what I've seen.
I don't know if that's when the call was breaking up, but JB said that there was parts of this that reminded him of that, and he said that's literally why he didn't watch Scooby-Doo for 8 years. That was his turning point where it's just I'm done. It's not for me anymore.
But I mean, it's no surprise to anyone. I have to pass this one too. Do not watch it unless you just are that bored.
I guess that's something that I want to make clear now, but it's pretty obvious. If you're listening to this and you do like this movie, full respect, because everyone's taste is different, but I really want to know what you enjoy about the movie, so please make sure to comment that, because I really do just want to speak to someone that does really like this movie and kind of hear their point of view on it, because I'm interested, because that's just the type of person that I am.
Yeah, but JB balances us out very well. I'm really just abrupt and oh, well, this is my views and that's it. Whereas, yeah, you're very Okay, well, let's see a bit more. So, if there is anyone that likes this, it would be very interesting to hear why.
But I guess now we should move on to some community news if anyone has any. I guess we'll start with SMASH because I've got,
I'm taking our community news.
Okay, well, we've got one community news. I don't know if SMASH has any community news at all.
I mean, I have some news, but I don't know if it's what you guys were going to bring up.
Oh, actually, yeah, there is more news, isn't there?
What's your news, Smash?
Yeah, okay.
The Scooby-Doo reunion special. Did you guys see that?
There was like a post on some more information about it, but I haven't read it in depth. So if you want to keep the lovely viewers informed, we'll definitely be interested to hear that.
Yeah, so they're doing a Scooby-Doo reunion special for the 52nd anniversary, which they're kind of late with that, but it's fine. So it's going to air later this month, I believe on October 29th. On the CW, and then they're going to do an encore presentation early November on Cartoon Network. But yeah, we basically got a premise. It's going to be animated, and it's basically going to be about the gang going around the lot of Warner Brothers and talking about their past mysteries and their, all their adventures throughout the years. But then while going about, they're going to have a mystery that they have to solve on the lot of Warner Brothers, all while running into a bunch of guest stars who either have starred in Scooby-Doo projects or have worked on them. Like Tony Cervoni is going to be on it, who directed Scoob, but also was involved with other Scooby-Doo projects and stuff. The biggest thing we're all wondering is if actual Scooby-Doo characters are going to be brought back, because they're calling it a Scooby-Doo reunion. It's called Scooby-Doo, Where Are You Now? And we're all just like really hoping that at least in some form they're gonna like bring back Scooby-Dum, Scooby-D, maybe Scrappy. Like we're like, okay, this is fun and all that you're bringing all these guest stars on here, but what we really want is these Scooby-Doo characters that we haven't, seen for decades at this point. And so that's something to look forward to watch at the end of this month, just in time, for the spooky holiday.
Wow. I mean, there's some characters from, like, Alien Invasion that would be great to see back, wouldn't there, JB?
Crystal and Amber, right? Or even Lester.
Yeah, I was thinking
Lester. Get Lester for like some Area 51 interrogation, like post-Christian. So I hear your pictures.
Yeah, I've been with the aliens for the last 30 years. Yay!
Did they experiment on you?
God.
That's mad.
I mean, honestly, I think the Scooby community would manage to break the internet if Scrappy came out.
Yeah, I mean, be it positive or negative, the internet would be broken.
Yeah, and it's so split down the middle. Like, I don't think there's really many people that's like, yeah, Scrappy's okay. It's like, oh, they're so cute. Or, they're plain evil.
I just want, and everyone would hate this because I know it's probably one of the most unpopular iterations of Scrappy. But I just want a 2-minute short of Scrappy's flight from Spooky Island to jail or wherever he gets sent to. Just make it explicit or whatever you need to do. I just want to hear him ranting and raving. That would be amazing.
Who was it that was voicing Scrappy then? It was Scott Innes, wasn't it? Yeah, because I remember them. Were they speaking with Nikki Blake? They tried to do that, where they kind of bleep a lot out at the end. And they were like, okay, this isn't... And he'd said that the producers had said to him, this isn't running well when you try and, stop. You do actually need to you need to do the full thing. You need to just swear and we're just going to have to, edit round you. We just need to get it, to sound right.
I'll just release that audio.
He was there on, the set of Scooby-Doo, just, swearing his head off, just
Effing and jeffing. Or just release the James Gunn cut of Scooby-Doo 2002.
Right, JB, you're done. You're done. That's the end of the episode.
There's very little that I wouldn't give up for that cut. Come on, man. And he's just done the Suicide Squad, right? Come on, James Gunn. Just release it, man. Please. Please, be a friend. Be a friend. Be a pal.
You're already a creep enough without that being released. Stop it.
No, I'm not a creep. What else? There's some more news in that. I think as of putting this out yesterday, the soundtrack for Scooby-Doo The Temple of Gold, like the kind of live tour, should have been released, so look forward to hearing that. I don't know how they're going to release it, if they're going to make it a CD or if it's going to be on iTunes, but it should be fun regardless.
Tonight, well, I guess it should be out for you guys at this point, but the album should be out digitally for you to listen to at least.
JB's on his phone. He's finding it.
Check. I guess you can.
I'm contemplating doing a reaction to it.
Oh.
I guess while JB's researching it, the other bit of community news we have is, as everyone like kind of knows, about 2 weeks ago when the Frank Welker thing was counter-sold for us, we were a bit like, and that would obviously be this weekend. That would have happened on the day this goes out, right, JB?
Which one? Oh my gosh, that's sad. Yeah, it would have.
So today would have been the day that we were like going to see Frank Welker. But JB managed to find on the internet that Freddie Prinze Jr. is accepting like send-ins until the 15th?
It's the 10th, I think. Well, the sales cutoff is the 10th.
Yeah,
so
and then it needs to be there for the 15th.
as of this coming out, you do have a day, maybe more, because we're in the UK. So, like, you probably have some more time if you did want to do that. But the cutoff point is the 10th of October 2021. And all the information will be on the GalaxyCon website if you do want to do that.
So we're like waking up at like 7 a.m, 6 a.m. tomorrow to try and get like the world's fastest shipping to America for the Funko Pop box.
Yeah, it's gonna be
It's a bit of a supplement. I mean,
yeah,
Frank Welker's obviously like the original and current and just everything.
although
But you know, JB likes to point out that Freddie Prinze is a man of substance.
But
So.
what will be awesome though is when we meet Matthew Lillard, and like if obviously the Freddie Prinze Jr. gets there in time, there'll literally be like 2 of the live action actors like there.
You're still not getting anywhere near Gala, you can forget it.
No, you're right. But still, a guy can dream.
The security's like, I heard you on this podcast and the restraining order's already in progress.
I don't think it is. I think they've cancelled it. So yeah, the soundtrack doesn't seem to be released for us yet, but
I guess that's everything. I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
I can't think of any more news. But yeah, so again, GalaxyCon, I'll try and link that in the description. Again though, there's only like a day still left if you want to do that.
Do it now.
But regardless, keep an eye on the GalaxyCon website because there's a lot of things that they've got going on. And obviously, because the majority of our audience are in America, you can literally do it for a fraction of the price. From what I can recall, Freddie Prinze Jr. was $80 to send in your own item to get it autographed.
Well, then it's like 50 shipping back for us, so.
It's yeah. Just I don't want to. If you're in the UK,
The UK is just
we're gonna
so
start a
unfortunate.
support group. So if you have purchased this and you're in the UK, just DM us and we'll have a little cry together. But we'll also celebrate because it's happy times.
We'll celebrate if it gets there in time.
If it doesn't, I'll be sad. But
Yeah.
we'll see.
Anyway, so wrapping up, next week we will be reacting to Scooby-Doo Stage Fright.
Yeah, which I'm actually really excited for, to be honest.
I think we've heard some good things about this one.
Yeah, after this movie, I'm very happy that we're going to move on to Stage Fright.
I mean, yeah.
It's a good one to redeem us back into some good Scooby.
Yes!
My brain didn't feel like my own after watching Mystery Map, so I do need to I need to reclaim it. Anyway, we hope you've enjoyed this. Like we said, we will be back next week where we will be looking at Scooby-Doo Stage Fright. So make sure to subscribe for that. That is obviously on the JB and Millie channel. And of course, Smash as well. Subscribe to their channel. They are always up to date with everything kind of Scooby. And it's just a great channel to kind of stay in the loop with everything Scooby as well. And as always, the information for that will be down in the description.
Yeah, like if you subscribe to us, there's no reason to not subscribe to Smash because he's got a nicer voice than me, and that's saying something in it because I've got the accent on that.
Wow, that was a lovely way of speaking, JB. Congratulations.
That's alright.
So yeah, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to JB and Millie, and of course Smash.
Hey.
Woo!